So why don't we start out? First of all, hello.
Hello.
Hi.
We're the Ians, and we're glad to meet you.
Yes.
We've got Ian, and
Yeah.
Erica.
Most of you remember Ian. Do you go by your middle name, Ian Michael?
Ian Michael Myers.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of you will have seen him before, and we
Just had
all.
a picture of yours I just put up over there, and it's got this big muscle here with a
Yeah.
big plate of raw food.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
good stuff.
Oh yeah.
What do those
You're
raw
good.
foods do?
Oh,
I mean,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Did you see that video on, I think Natalie or whatever, she's the athlete, and she did like a,
Natalie.
she showed
Danielle.
Danielle.
Yeah.
Danielle.
Oh,
Danielle.
I was thinking in, and it's
Danielle, and she is amazing. Did you see that?
Strong. Really
Strong,
strong. I had a
baby.
chance to do an interview with her.
Did you?
Yes.
How did that work out?
Worked out really well.
Did it?
Yeah, we had a good time.
I tell you,
Yeah.
I've always said in sports and everything else, this is just the cat's meow at the level you can get.
She's strong.
She's strong.
And she's strong inside, too.
Yeah.
And she's just a beacon of light out there.
They're going to break records. These people are going to break endurance records of all kinds, things like that. I mean, you see already how you feel without the obstructions in the body, without the acidosis, and the amount of flexibility and endurance one can have with that.
Absolutely.
You know, I just never got tired when I was just total fruitarian.
Oh, I bet.
I just never got tired. Could never stay in my body, though. It was just so powerful, you know, it was hard to stay in it.
Navel oranges.
Navel.
How long? 6 months?
6 months.
Straight.
Yeah, but some people's already kicked my ass. You got some YouTubers that's been going a year or two on stuff. Well, I was 3 years as a fruitarian, maybe 3 or 4, 10 years all raw, and then I just got with the wrong person, you know. Depends who your significant other is, depends how well you do, you know.
Well, a lot of respect on that. 6 months of, I mean, I always tell that story because it's like, you know, I do high fruit, but never 6 months. Wow.
Yeah, 6 months, it was intense. But my body was craving them, and I could get a bushel basket of oranges, and I could have about 13 navels, about the size of big grapefruits.
Yeah.
Because if you get really properly grown organics, you got huge fruit. And I had navels this big,
Juicy and just...
sweet as honey. You said acid, you go acid. I don't, what are you talking about? Because sweet as honey. If it's grown properly, it's sweet as honey, right?
Yeah.
I could do 13, 14, 15 of them in a setting and do 5, 6 settings a day easy.
Wow.
And just keep on going.
That's
Oh,
solid.
yeah, easy. Oh, yeah.
A lot of good fiber there, too.
Yeah.
Everything
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Everything.
And the energy and everything is just like amazing.
Because you get more energy as they grow up towards the sun, right?
Yeah, exactly, and the astringents pull on your kidneys and start getting them filtering. So this is where I found kidney filtration. As I was peeing, I lived in a Volkswagen camper van, a little bitty thing, had no bathroom. So I was peeing in a jar, and I just noticed the first time I peed in it, that sediment in the bottom of it, you know, and I'm going, well, that should be there, right? It's sewage. I'm thinking it's what you would think. Look at the crap I got out. That's good, you know. So every day I was going, oh, how much did I get out today? I didn't think for once people didn't filter. Didn't have any idea that was a fact, you know. So then when I got into doing this and looking at your analysis and everybody's not filtering, it says clear urine, clear urine. I'm going, clear urine, what the hell's that? And it just made sense, you know.
Yeah.
People were losing their filtration of this system.
And that's what the big struggle is
It's
today.
what the big struggle is.
We're trying to
Get
we're
filtration
focusing on helping
quicker.
people to like find that quicker. And
Quicker and sooner, because if you're sitting there with a tumor like that lady there, you got to get this moving because she hasn't got much time to wait, period, you know. And you can't get tumors out unless the kidneys are filtering, or
Right.
unless we pull it out.
yeah, it's what's going on at a deeper
Yeah,
level.
the
You know,
deeper
tumor's
levels.
just the exterior. You can see what's going. That gives you some visibility,
Yeah.
maybe of what the insides are doing. Very acidic.
Yeah,
Well, why don't you introduce this young man?
Yeah. So my name's Ian Myers, and this is Ian as well, and Ian Hayes. And yeah, I met Ian actually. Well, I'll let him share. We met each other through Dr. Morse here, actually. He didn't know. He didn't know this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Ian.
I just met Dr. Morse 5 minutes ago. So.
Yeah. That's pretty
Personally,
Yeah.
but
But I've
watching.
been paying attention
cool. You
closely for
only
about a
met me
year.
on the outer here,
Exactly.
but I know you, and you know that.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do know that.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Fun stuff. Yep.
So we're just going to have fun
Moving
doing
to
a little
first match.
interview here. But why don't you read what you found this
Yeah, can you
treasure?
believe this? This is
Oh.
amazing. I find this
All right.
amazing stuff now. This is the Wilkes-Barre
Wilkes-Barre.
Leader. It's a newspaper, probably European. It sounds European the way they're talking. This was dated Sunday, April 17th, 1898. 1898. Get that. All right. So it says a fruit diet has often been known to cure where every other remedy has failed. Damn, that's pretty strong stuff. Thousands of cases which have been given up as hopeless have been cured through this means, which is just simply going on a fruit diet.
Maybe there's something
Interesting.
there.
Yeah, maybe there's something there. To fruit feeders, such things as rheumatism, gout, cancers, all those sort of things, gravel, etc. Back then they call it gravel, of course, are seldom known. Dyspepsia, nervous inabilities, to say nothing of numbers of other diseases, can more or less be traced to a wrong diet. This is 1898, right? We're still dealing with cowboys and Indians, right? So, he traced the wrong diet and are removable with a correct frugivorous one is adopted. If therefore a fruit diet has indeed nothing else to recommend it, its curative powers would be great enough to insist upon its value. Amazing stuff.
1898.
1898. These guys knew that
Pioneers in that.
Pioneers. Now
Yeah.
think about this. You got cowboys out on the west. You know, you're eating beans or whatever, and they're saying, "Hey, man, fruit. Where do you get your fruit out on?" You know, it's like, damn.
So who hijacked that information and why?
Yeah, exactly.
Good question.
Interesting.
Thanks
So-
for sharing that.
Quick question for each of you. What were some of your health concerns or challenges before you even got into this?
Ooh, that's good. I'll start here. So before I started into the detox journey, which was 2011, 2012,
Oh well.
it was pretty recent, you know.
Yeah.
Prior to this, I was noticing like rapid heartbeat, high blood pressure, really high blood pressure.
Wow.
It's like 140, 150 over. I can't remember the bottom number. I just remember that being a very big,
Yeah.
a big number that didn't seem. It seemed really high, and I had a lot of that going on. A lot of nervous tension, anxieties, and those were some of the beginning things that I noticed and experienced. And I later learned that through taking Accutane, which many of you viewers, I've made a video on sharing that I
You took Accutane?
I did as a teenager. Accutane and, get this, prednisone.
You took both of those,
Both of those.
and you're still living.
I'm still living, and
Wow.
and that's why it's been such a
Wow.
challenge for me to get my lymph moving.
Yeah.
I've been at this for 7 years,
Oh, wow.
and I say, you know what? It's been a challenge to get the lymph moving, but what I've noticed is like everything I'm doing is working towards the greater good, and it's not that I'm doing anything wrong. It's just that I'm lucky to be here,
Yeah.
and so I just keep working at it. I never give up, and I learn something new almost every single day. People I work with, from you guys, from your videos, and from
Thanks.
just being here and being in the action of the daily, taking things on daily. I've learned a great deal, but here it is 7 years later, and I feel like I'm just getting started. I've been doing this now for such a long time, but I'm starting to see some. I just started to do a little bit of the fasting and dry fasting, and things are starting to shift a little bit. So we have.
Well, consider you have miles of pathways in the body, miles of lymph pathways and all of that. So considering the type of diet, the agglomerating diet that man's been eating, the acidic meats and stuff like this, and the beans and things, it takes you a little while to really go systemically and get deep in the body. It's going to take you a while.
Yeah.
You can cure a lot of symptoms and things like that right off. Tumors and stuff like that. But when you're dealing what you're saying deep within the tissues. That, you know,
Strengthening and getting things clean, and it's been a process. So it's very regimented in the first 2 years when I first got into this, and I've learned more balance along the way and how to keep going.
Yeah.
And so I'm committed. I'm
Yeah.
committed to it. So that was some of my beginning challenges. You know, in the beginning was
Sure,
navigating that terrain.
sure, absolutely.
How about you, Robert?
Me?
Yeah, what were some of your health
Yeah,
challenges?
okay, so I'm an old farm boy, and I had milk. I lived on milk growing up. So I had migraines, obesity, hemorrhoids, those sort of things. And nothing major that I knew of, you know. But as soon as I looked at a picture of my eyes, and I went, oh. Because I didn't feel
What was the
anything
first-
that I was seeing, you know. But I've been pretty raw all these years, so I don't really am bothered with too much.
What was the first time that you looked at the eyes? Iridology. What do you remember that?
Holy
Your
crap.
first iridology
Was this
session.
No, I
after your
don't.
naval fast?
Oh yeah,
or-
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I had no idea of the natural health field. I just got a hold of, I think one of my first books was like a natural hygienic book from Shelton,
Yeah.
or either Arnold Ehret's Nucleus Diet System. Those are some of the earlier books. And back then, the natural hygienic people were really on. You had fasting. You had a fasting clinic down here in Bonita Springs. You had a couple in Texas. So fasting was really picking up then. It was a hot thing to do, especially for the people with money. You know, but it was just, and it should have caught on even more. But
Yeah, it
it
seems
was
that
became almost trendy, but it's still about the health.
it's definitely taking a backseat.
But like anything else, I remember going to a natural hygiene meeting, and I don't think anybody was below 80 there. They were all in their 90s and 100. They all had their teeth, and there was a kick-in pot dinner, you know, and I come and I bring this big salad, and everybody brought cooked food. And I said, you forgot, didn't you? All these years, you know. But I couldn't bitch. They were all in their 80s and 90s with their teeth. They had all original teeth. Their body, they had no problems. It's like,
Man,
cool stuff. Been raw all their lives.
it's amazing. And yeah, you're right. I read a book. There was another book that was out. It was from the who was the group that came up with the apple cider? Bragg's.
I'll brag.
Paul Bragg. They wrote a book, something about water. It was water fasting. It was a little different. That was.
Yeah, Paul Bragg. I mean, I knew of that whole thing. And of course, Jensen, personal friend. Paul Bragg was his personal friend. Jensen was lucky. He had Paul Bragg as his personal friend, N.W. Walker as his personal friend. I mean, he had all the greats as his personal friends because that was a hot time back then. And you know, N.W. Walker, he died at 107. 107. But Jensen said, I didn't see him the last 10 years of his life. But he is that N.W. Walker guy. He's the juice man. The raw, the vegetables over really the fruits.
Yeah.
And him and Jensen always fought over the bowel chart and how that bowel is symbiotically related to all the other tissues, which is where's the heart reflex, where's the liver reflex. And so they kind of battled over that. I give it to Jensen because Jensen knew the eye. And the eye, you can map it all out with the eye. So. But at least Walker was pretty advanced to be thinking of that way back in the 20s.
He was ahead of his time.
Yeah, and I have a card from Dr. Jensen, excuse me, who belonged to the Arnold Ehret Club in 1929. The Arnold Ehret Club, Raw Food Club, pretty cool stuff, you know. That's what we're doing, is getting a club going to where people get into this raw and into the fruit levels and see.
Thank you for your work. You know.
Oh,
man,
man.
it's
Yeah, but you guys are doing it and showing the world what happens when you do that.
there's
You know?
so many beautiful
One guy
people
ain't nothing.
out there hitting it hard. And,
Yeah, well, it's exciting.
So
And the
much.
kids, holy crap, I'm getting all kinds of stories about the kids and their acceleration of awareness and how it impacts their school learning. It's like few teachers can deal with the more aware kids.
Yeah.
It's like, holy crap. The teachers got to have their act together if they're going to teach these kids because these are aware beings.
Yeah.
They're coming into these little genetically weak bodies. So I always figured our big job is to fix those bodies for these beings. So then they can bring in more light to us and everything like
Yeah.
that.
Thank
That
you.
says the children will teach the elderly.
Thank you.
So What about you, Ian? What were some of your struggles?
I would have to say I didn't have any, to be honest with you.
Sure.
All right.
And
Don't have to. Thank
not
God.
to say that I have perfect health, because I was down the road of the patterns of the diet of which we have in society. But I come to you with a message that says your efforts have transferred from the theater of the sick into those that are well, and those that want more. And I represent that because Ian and myself are living that.
Yeah.
We are healthy. We're going out there. We want more from life. We understand that this is an interface that we are biologically embodied in, and there are ways to live within the balance of nature, and the correct diet is a very important key to that. So all of the people that come to you on a regular basis have these terrible conditions and problems, and I'm looking at his desk full of these just heartbreaking pictures, and I was asking just a moment ago, how do you deal with that? And it's very difficult to stay positive, but hopefully we're a breath of fresh air to say, you know, no longer has it, are just the needy coming to you, and I'm here to say thank you, because I came into your knowledge and was able to use what you've put together to live my life in a more fulfilling way.
Good.
And I think that many people
Good.
will be able to take that even further, and I hope to share that with many people, and I know Ian does. And
Yeah.
we've been in contact for about 6 months because I learned of him through watching your videos about a year ago, and we're discussing maybe how we can put something together to help other people in that regard.
You know, we have a lot. I mean, we have two of the most important things to offer people, in my opinion. We have how they can find their remedy in their physical, biological remedy. But it seeps over into the emotional, as you know, and into the mental bodies as well, of course, because you're consuming food that has all the bodies with it, too. You know, you're consuming the same thing that you're made of, basically. And so, I mean, it's been an interesting ride, you know. The amount of suffering out there is amazing, but one creates their own. And you have to realize that to get somewhat detached with that and understand karma, you know, cause and effect. And the neat thing we have to offer is our hand. Here, we can help you out of that karma that you've just created for yourself. Let me help you out of that.
Show you a little bit
Exactly.
of how to stay on the path of balance.
Exactly. And then let me show you a little bit of the light. Let me give you a touch of consciousness, because if we could get people out of their minds and out of their emotions,
And out of their behavioral patterns.
that's where it's all at. They're free. They have now touched the cloak of God. They now begin to understand what awareness is versus creation. You know, and I just love it. That's my main focus. The health is the way to get there. Because for years I taught out-of-body travel and stuff like that, right? But it's hard to go right up to someone and talk to them that way, because Christian backgrounds and so many backgrounds have alienated people's ability to open up to who they really are. So by going in the back way, getting them healthy, it opens you up. It just clears all these obstructions out. And all these lower states of consciousness can't exist in these high levels of energy. Wow. Yeah.
The lips of wisdom are sealed to all those except who need them.
Exactly. Exactly. You know,
Or
you've got to
who
be
are ready for them.
I'm ready for them. Really.
Ready.
When you're ready, we're here. But this planet has, and we're just talking about this planet has a lot of spiritual beings that are focusing on it. And it's like, I've never seen so many in my life at all levels. And it's like, interesting what's going on here. I don't know all, you know, but a lot's interesting. So many spiritual
We
beings.
stick together and figure it out and put pieces of the puzzle together.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, that's fun, isn't it? It's fun when you can look at the overall and put the picture together so you can see it instead of fighting those little effects and stuff like that. I was just this morning doing the video talking about that's the problem with allopathy. It's chasing symptomology instead of pulling back and understanding the simplicity of it all first, and then get into your intellectual level, that sort of thing.
Well, the neat thing about what you guys are doing is you're moving from the fight into the preventative part of it. it's easier to prevent than it is to fight. And so many are used to getting that huge diagnosis laid upon them along with fear from that. And then they're in this constant struggle of, I've got to fix it, I've got to fix it, I've got to fix it. And the stress and the anxiety that lay it even more on them. Whereas you guys are in the preventative where you didn't have a whole lot relatively going on. You're strong guys, but you're doing something to prevent it from getting to the point where you have to fight.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So-
Just little.
The
little by
earlier
little
you can
working.
correct yourself and be on the right path, then the less issues you're going to have later on down the road.
Absolutely.
Until
Absolutely.
you unfortunately get to a crisis stage, which is, I know how a lot of people find you, but like I was saying earlier, hopefully more people in the future, like myself, will find this information and be able to use
No
it.
kidding. You know, and start uplifting things so the ride here is a little more pleasurable. You know what I mean? Because it's pretty choppy right now here.
Bring some people up.
Yeah, look at all these beautiful beings coming in here, these children. And you've got so much corruption and crap everywhere here, it's just not even funny, you know. And it's like, but truth is coming out. You notice how all this stuff's coming out. Truth, this higher level of awareness and all this stuff. And you see it in politics. Everything is coming around slowly, you know, dissipating this negative force and bringing the light in. It's slow turn.
It's just tricky to navigate all the misinformation out there.
Tricky.
So you have to
Real tricky.
really.
You have to
dig
go
into
to the
it.
point where you just sit back and you say, you know what, I don't believe in anything anymore. Now let me start with no belief system, get rid of the concept of diseases, let me shake that little Etch-a-Sketch thing and clean it off. Now let's start from the very beginning.
And build a new foundation.
Build a
from
new
scratch.
foundation. And that's the video I did this morning. Let's kind of do that. All right, how do we start? Two sides of chemistry. You start with the fundamental framework of what makes this plane up. And you know, you just go that way.
What are the laws of nature?
What are
are
the laws of
what is
nature? What
chemistry?
exactly? You go back and you trace this all out.
It's all in nature. It's just we think that we know better and we
Yeah.
keep screwing it up.
Well, it's the academics, the intellectual mind. You know, you can read these books, and what are you reading? Other people's states of consciousness. What if you want your own? What if you want to understand life from your own consciousness, from your own perspective? Because you don't know where all these different levels are, and most people that write these books aren't that elevated. So,
It's just a collection of
just
other
a collection. You are
regenerated,
reprogramming your mind with extra collection of everybody else's idiocies and thoughts and flawed theories.
Try it on.
Yeah.
Try it on and take what you need.
Yeah, that's the whole
keep,
point.
Keep moving forward.
Take what you need. Good advice to people. Take what you need for your own growth and awareness. Keep yourself, and keep on going.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
You need to start with that new baseline foundation from scratch.
Yeah.
And then what you can experience
Exactly.
yourself is the only
Exactly.
thing that's true.
Exactly.
And don't listen to any of the other nonsense.
Exactly.
I mean, there's certain parameters that you can figure out and you can stay within. And thankfully, you've been able to generate a good body of work to really help people
I
stay
hope
on
so.
track with that.
I hope so. But look, we've got all of us now down on this. And you can't beat that. When you've got thousands of us proving it and homing it and coming up with more studies and putting this together in a nice little package, it's hard to beat that. It's hard to go back on that because it's all filled with truth. How are you going to blow back on that? How are you going to blow back on someone that, like our friend that fell out of the parachute didn't open? How do you blow back on someone like that fell out of the sky and now he's running and walking again? How do you blow back on those things? See, and you can't. It's like, all right, let's see your theory in action. And it's like, oh. Oh, your patient didn't make it. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, God.
So guys, either one of you jump in on this one, but what was the defining moment for you? What was the tipping point that got you to about face, that got you to get yourself into a different mindset, a different way of thinking?
Around like the healing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
What got you to look outside?
Yeah.
Well, the one thing that gets you to look outside is your spirituality. You know, you kind of hinted at it earlier. You know, when you're lost playing the Days of Our Lives and General Hospital stuff, you're lost. Your attention is captured by your drama. When you pull back from your drama, Buddha said it, Christ said it, everybody's saying it. Stop thinking. Back up. Start become the observer. that's when all the doors start opening up, because now you're seeing what really exists instead of playing with your own thoughts. And people just follow their own thoughts, and people play with your thoughts, and like you said, with propaganda crap, and so no one knows what's true anymore here. People are just like leaves blowing in the wind. So it'd be nice to stabilize the teaching. That's why I've been adamant about everybody trying to be as up as you can, straight as you can, and set this at teaching, because this planet has nothing. The natural health field right now is like here's nitric oxide users, some weird crap like that, majorly toxic, and then you've got turpentine eaters, and you got stool implanters, and urine eaters, and it's like no wonder people are looking at our field going, bear claws and gallbladders, and so we need to stabilize the truth and a decent way of looking at this, because we're all over the place.
Yeah, keep it simple and go back to nature.
Exactly, and that's exactly because you can't blow back on nature.
There's already a perfect design that exists. How much more simple is it to go out and pick something off of a tree or off the ground and just eat it? And
if you have the understanding and you know,
it's too simple for some.
That's
too simple to pick up fruit and eat it. What was it, Moody Blues, sitting under an orchard or something? What was that song? They pick up a fruit off the tree and sit and go into nirvana or something. That's sort of thing. Well, I mean, this world needs that.
I have a feeling it's interesting at Robert's dinner table.
Well, what brought you into this?
Well, being diagnosed as diabetic was the first step. Then being diagnosed with polyneuropathy was another step. Being healed from that was another step. It was my mom, actually, that she got me interested in herbs and took me to my first iridology session when I was like 11, I think.
You mean the one that begs me to send you back to Indiana?
Yeah. But I started reading herb books and putting together protocols when I was like 13, 14 years old.
amazing.
And
Wow.
it's always drawn me. I got married, that drew me away for a while. Had kids, that drew me away for a while. But
Well, we're from
you
Indiana.
can't deny when you start
Yeah.
getting into it. You can't deny it.
Yeah. And we're
It's
from
just a
Indiana.
draw. It's a complete draw.
Indiana is full of woods and stuff that people go pick greens from. My grandmother, my ex-mother-in-law, they'd go up in the woods and come back with a big handful of greens, and that's the supper.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
Fresh.
I'm from a very poor place in some places, and that's where they got their food, is out in the mountains.
It's all fresh.
All fresh, all greens right there. Didn't eat them raw. They cooked them down, But
Better than the alternative.
better than a piece of dead cow sitting
Right.
out there or something.
My dad had this forked prong thing, and he would send me out into the yard to dig out the roots of the dandelion.
Dandelion, me too.
I have clients that would die if they heard that I used to do that.
My dad had me do the same thing. Dandelion was forbidden in the yard.
Yeah.
It's got a pretty yellow flower on it. What are you forbidden? Look at that pretty
Yeah.
little thing. If you really knew what it did for
Yeah.
you. And we used to eat the flowers off of it. We ate daisies, dandelion flowers, sassafras leaves.
Whoa.
You ever eat sassafras
Oh,
leaves?
I heard about sassafras.
Those are good. And sassafras tea. Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
I just
But
had
the FDA says it's
They say it's
bad.
not. Yeah, they took it off the market.
Yeah, stupid.
Yeah.
It's a major blood purifier. Delicious. I mean, I guess half the old people would be dead by now if it was as bad as the FDA claims. Because there's a very popular tea up north.
Not bad.
Oh yeah, sassafras.
It's got a lot of medicinal properties to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Done a little bit of research on that one recently.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
so that answer didn't really get answered, but what keeps you motivated? In a world where there's temptation and
Yeah.
there's smells and there's emotional attachments and things like that, what keeps you motivated to stay?
God, motivation for me. I'm 38 years old. I just turned 38 in December. I started on this path at 30.
Wow.
It was like 2011, 2012 was when I started to get on this journey. And so prior to that, I'm the oldest out of 3 kids, and I never ate vegetables growing up, or fruit. I was
Really?
I was the oldest out of 3 kids, and my brother and sister would go in the garden and they would pick greens and carrots and stuff and then wash them off and eat them. And I never ate vegetables growing up until I had these health challenges. I went into the I went in to get a physical to make sure I was healthy to ride this bike race because I was having high blood pressure and hypertension and heart palpitations and things. And so I went in and got the EKG, and the doctor says you're developing heart disease, and you have you're pre-diabetic, and you have major issues going on with your
Holy
adrenals,
crap.
and, all these things. And that was like a light bulb went on.
I'm going to stop you there. He recognized the adrenals. I'm shocked.
I'm shocked.
It was fatigue,
Yeah.
anxiety.
Still, I
Yeah.
And then, this all happened right around, I think I was 28, 29. I moved to Colorado and I started this health journey. I found out about you in somewhere in that, I came to the 2012 class. By that time, I'd already been on the herbs for 3 months. I did the iridology reading that time. And that was a direct communication of all the things that have been going on.
Yeah.
And you addressed everything. Never saw the blood work, but addressed and said, heart, there was an issue with heart, there was major lymphatic stagnation, there was adrenal issues going on, strong constitution, but pineal, some endocrine stuff. And it was just that when I heard that, and I got the diagnosis from the medical doctor before I started all this, that was motivating for me. And I never ate vegetables growing up. I ate the standard American diet. I was heavy sandwiches and chips and pizza and garbage.
I'm lucky. I was 20 when I got into this, so I was lucky.
Yeah, you started
I started young. I was lucky, but then I've been off and on and off.
Yeah, you just
trying to make a living.
Balance,
and just.
That's been the key for me here is just finding the balance in this whole thing, staying motivated. As you were asking, like, what keeps you motivated? That was the motivating.
Three people keep me motivated here. I mean, I come up alone. And so when I see others in fruitarians and raw and stuff, I'm motivated, baby.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I come where you had to hunt people down, that did raw.
Yeah.
And you couldn't find a fruitarian. You could forget that. You couldn't even find a book on fruitarian. I think Carrington and Wenham was the only book I could find on fruitarianism. And then there was Johnny Love Wisdom. I don't think he ever made it to fruitarianism. I'm probably not even alive.
It's high levels,
Yeah, high levels.
I get around. I've never been a full-on fruitarian, but when I'm around those that are, I feel the energy, and I certainly, I'll indulge with.
But you're using more physical stuff.
Yeah, I really push the body to. And some people know the story. I lost 75 pounds when I started the detox. I actually got skinny.
Real skinny.
I went from 250 pounds to 170 at 6'3", and I got super skinny.
Yeah.
And then I stayed there for a while, and just as like I always use the analogy of like wringing out a sponge. Like the sponge fills up, and then I wring it out, and then it fills up, and wring it out, and I just kept doing that. And then I started to put the weight on. But that was my motivating factor in the beginning, was my health. And then as I started to build the body, I was like, well, how can I do this and live a lifestyle of cleaning and strengthening and building, and how I want to do all of this. And that's been my work since.
Oh, wow.
Ever since then.
Bunch
It's just
of stuff.
figuring that out and how to help others do it too.
Yeah.
So,
How about you? How do you stay motivated?
Let me go back one because I didn't get a chance to answer what was your defining moment?
Oh, yeah.
So this is a little bit interesting.
Oh.
So Robert speaks of spirituality and out-of-body experiences and existing on navel oranges and just being at a point where you're constantly in and out of your body. He doesn't speak about it too much because it will lose a lot of you, and a lot of you don't understand the connection with that.
Yeah.
So let me try to explain what that's like on your behalf. There's different ways that you can connect to something that's much greater than yourself. It's a higher intelligence, a very deeper essence of everything that you are that is reaching out and wants to make a connection with you. And there's certain techniques that you can do that will allow that to energetically open for you. And myself I'm somebody who wants to dig into all the details of life and figure out exactly how everything works. I want to unravel the fabric and look at all of the threads and then weave them back together and make a tapestry that's even better.
Yeah.
So when I learned how to leave my body through some of these techniques, it's like you are removed from the biological machine that you are inhabiting. And when you come back in, imagine every system of your body coming on like upgrades. So you feel your skeletal system, then you feel all the tendons and the ligaments, and then all of the muscles start to form, and then the blood starts to flow through. And then you take a breath and you feel the oxygen come in, and you can feel how all of the cells in your body change in alkalinity, and then you exhale and you feel all of the waste and the carbon monoxide go out, and finally you open your eyes and you realize, I'm back in this reality, in this body. And when that happens, it's such a profound shift, because you just got a peek behind the door of how everything works. And this is the essence of the mystical experience, and essentially what every religion is based off of.
Yeah.
And we've all been trying to reach this for all eternity, but we have this mechanism called the identity or the ego that comes into play, which essentially creates all of these patterns that we collect through our genetics and our heritage, and through all of the programs of society and religion and so on and so forth. So all of this basically forces us to forget that level of connectivity. So for me, waking up again in the body and looking at myself in the mirror, I realized that this is just a biological machine that is my interface to interact in this platform of existence. And knowing that, I'm going to take the best care that I can of this thing. And since I don't have any real issues, I want to learn how to hack this thing, and I want to maximize the potential. And I'm going to try everything that I can do to push the limits.
Damn.
All the breathing techniques,
Yeah.
what's it like the grounding, how can you have spatial awareness through your hair, how can you, so on and so forth. And being able to exist in such a high frequency, you can experiment with things, and you can experiment with locations, and you can experiment with techniques, and you can go back to a lot of the teachings that have been intentionally lost, and some of them not intentionally lost just because of the ego, but they're definitely suppressed, and there's definitely a reason for that, and there's control, and we won't go too much into that without getting into trouble, but but it is something that can be felt and is very real. And when you learn how to connect on that level, and then you start trying out different foods and smelling them and tasting them, and you smell and taste fruit, and you feel how it moves through your body, and the electricity can just course through your veins like liquid gold. It's just pure verification of ground level. This is the new foundation that I need to be working on and building on.
That's funny you use liquid gold as your analogy.
So what's next?
So what's next? So, threw me off. But yeah, what is next?
What is next?
There's so many things next, but anyways, for me, I can feel the difference between the electricity of the foods when I'm
Hell yeah.
when I'm operating at such a high frequency. And I've tried to eat cooked vegan, and I've tried to eat just cooked vegetables versus regular vegetables, and you can feel how your level of connectivity diminishes.
Yep.
And you need to use other techniques to bring it back up, or how to sustain it, or so on and so forth. So that's how I got into this.
Well, I mean, as you said, and it's hard to describe to others how powerful that experience is, because if you realize that your bodies is what limits your power, And that when you move your attention away from your body, physical, you've got your astral, move your attention away from that, you've got 5 bodies. You remove your attention and learn how to pull back from all those bodies. You're in a level of energy and power you can't define it. It
Language
is.
does not suffice.
There's no word nirvana, stuff like that.
It's like trying to explain sight to the blind.
Yeah, can't do it. Can't do it.
I can look into his eyes, and he knows exactly what I'm talking about, and we would love to share it with all of you, but there is no platform of which to do so. But there are certain parameters and guidelines that will keep you in balance with nature, and the diet is such a huge aspect of that. So when I started feeling these things, I wanted to go out and say, who knows about this? And you were the one that came up on the radar, and I just dug in, and I said, this guy's got it. He really figured it out, and he laid the groundwork, and he's collected the correct information, and he's got momentum, and he's been working in the arena of the ill. And now, like you said, what's next? Hopefully we can bring it out into the awareness of people that are not in crisis mode.
It would be nice to see an awakening, not just on the types of diets, of course, but as you're saying, an awakening to individuals higher. I hate to use the word higher, but to their greater self. Their more expanded awareness. Get more into consciousness, into thoughts and emotions. Because when you really look at it, it's your thoughts and emotions that separate you from your consciousness. It's how you activate creation. That's how you activate duality. And your id is just that first. And I was saying on the video today, creation is nothing but God expressing itself in form. That's all creation is God, the infinite, expressing itself in form.
Having experience.
Exactly. Do the Darlene and Rumi thing. When I look at her or you or anyone else, what do I see? God.
Yourself.
Always. Which is the self, the universal self, and we're all there. When you get in the all, we're all present. Creation only appears like it separates.
What level of connection do you want? And
Exactly.
for me, I want to have 1 foot in and 1 foot out, because I want to walk that line.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, because it does depend upon the ride you want. You can have, but the ride can get pretty wild. Because if you want the ultimate, you have to lose the id. But the interesting thing about it is, losing the little id, you gain the big id. In other words, losing the small self, there's only the one, so you move into the alone state more than ever before, because it's the alone state that haunts you, that drives you to yourself. That state where all things are alone. Because everyone is alone. When you strip everyone away from you, that your loved one leaves you and everyone leaves you and you're in a despair, only you exist. And you take on a physical body by yourself. It's your time to leave the planet. You're not taking anybody with you. You're going to this is the alone. And most people can't be alone. They're afraid to be alone. And that's why I try to people, don't be afraid to be alone. Lock yourself in your house. Spend time with yourself. Because you ain't going anywhere.
Do a 10-day Vipassana.
Yeah!
Silent meditation.
Exactly.
That's
Do what a retreat should be doing.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. We want to do seminars and retreats, because there's a lot to teach people.
Absolutely.
They want to wake up to it.
To learn how to be comfortable in their own bodies.
Yeah.
To get above the noise.
Get above the noise. That's it. That's a great statement right there. Get above the noise. And the noise is creation, duality. The movement between the two poles creates music. And some of it's beautiful.
So a lot of my clients always ask this question: what do I do if I get cravings and want to cheat?
Cheat, baby!
Cheat.
How do you deal with that? How do you arise above the cravings or the?
You've got a good chart for this.
Yeah. There's well, you can take a look at a couple of things. You can notice what the craving is for: salt, sugar, those types of things, and then that can give you a little bit of an indication maybe on
Exactly.
What's down, what maybe adrenals or maybe something else going on.
So salt would be
Salt would be adrenals, and then
sugar would
be
fungus. Too
maybe
damn
like
much fungus.
candida,
Exactly.
maybe parasites, stuff like that, and certainly like breads and pastas. That's always that was a big one for me to let go of. Cheese and grains and pasta.
Fungal food,
Yeah, big
baby.
time. Having low adrenal
The
glands.
meat wasn't the issue.
I had a lot of
There you go.
issues, so it was like connect the dots.
Exactly.
And then it's like, then you can move into the way I always explain it to people I'm working with is that if you really feel called to have something and you're just going crazy, go have it. And if you've been on the road, if you've been putting effort and attention to eating mindfully, and you've been eating raw, and you've been doing this, and you like get this wild craving, and it's just not going away, and you notice it and observe it, and you're aware of it, then you go have that food, and what happens is you get the confirmation of, oh, I just felt that, it didn't feel good.
Exactly.
And then most of the time people will say, I had that and it didn't feel good. And so they're less likely to do it more over and over again. And if they do, it's a lot more of a rare.
Or it lands right here and sticks here, and you're just like,
Yeah,
ugh.
you have a terrible stomach ache or, bad gas or BO or whatever, after. It's foods do wild stuff to us, especially when you start cleaning up the body and then have some.
Exactly.
Cause and
Reintroduce
effect.
it.
So
Cause
simple.
and
Yeah.
effect, exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I was on a 7-day water fast one time, and the second day I started craving Reese's peanut butter cups.
Mm.
All right, so I lived that day. Third day, craved them even worse. I mean, it was bad. And I think the end of the third day or fourth day, I couldn't take it anymore. So I wheeled into a 7-Eleven, got one of those packets with 3 or 4 of them in it.
Yeah.
I mean, I want a water fast, man.
Oh my God.
And I kept on going, and I
Wow.
never liked them since. And
Yeah.
I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
I was never a big Reese's peanut butter cup person, but boy, there's something about that.
54
And
ride.
They say it brings up toxins from those foods when you detox, and that's why you crave them again or some shit like that. I don't know.
Maybe it's just that last proof that your body needed to say, all right, I'm done with this.
Fully let
Exactly.
go.
I'm done
Yeah.
with
Yeah,
this.
I believe that
Oh,
too.
Listen, I've had all kinds of spiritual bits with foods. That's the other thing. They can play with you over the foods. Oh yeah, I mean, it's fun to get a spiritual guide and have your spiritual master working with you because they can, especially these Eck masters, they can take you on rides. It's like you don't know where you are. You know, the places are beyond beautiful, and there's no description of that. And you don't always know where you're at.
Total synesthesia.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've been to places that I don't know where I'm at, but
We'll have fun here.
you have fun there, and it's gorgeous. And you never know whether they made it for you or it's a real place. Because in the creation, these are real places. Now, you get above there, and everything is created for your enjoyment, and just like that.
Wow.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the whole idea is to become the creative dreamer yourself. So you're going through all this discipline. But then there's a reason for that, because as you get more awake, you will become the creative dreamer. So it expands itself, it individualizes itself, it teaches itself to become the dreamer, and then its individual self starts dreaming and creating. So everything starts creating and expanding and expanding.
So you're like in this flow state.
Holy
You're just
crap!
Like, from one
Oh
to the
yes.
next. Whoa, whoa.
Where isn't God?
Yeah.
It's like giving birth to yourself over and over,
Over and
again.
over and over and over and over and over. At every form possible. Right? Because consciousness doesn't know itself, because you're in the now. So the only way it knows itself is by expression, individual. I think it's cool as all get out.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I've got little glimpses of that in the 10-day Vipassana where I came out of that and I had some
Some profound
really,
insights.
really cool stuff.
That's a cool thing about that, profound insights.
It's fun to go there, but then you got to come back and you got to
Yeah, you got to come back. That's the
You have
part
to have
that
your
was been-
experience here.
That was the
And-
challenge, coming back and plugging back into reality. And
That is a challenge.
you
But
know,
you know what?
very sensitive to
You
things.
keep
now.
working. Remember we were talking about how you either look to God or you look from God. Keep practicing looking from instead of to. And after a while you'll shift, and it don't matter what you eat, doesn't matter anymore. You're living in pure consciousness. So the body can do anything it wants, you don't even know it's there.
Well, with that,
Because you're in pure consciousness. So that's what I learned about that.
Keep
And
going.
you just keep going, and you keep pulling yourself into the now to where these are the only things you're using to, like you were saying, expressing yourself in any dimension you want to. Whether you want to express yourself in such a chemical world as this, I don't know. Because this is pretty claustrophobic when you look at all the different world. I don't know if you've experienced that, but I can tell you this is a very claustrophobic level. When you take in all the other worlds, like the astral world in itself is so vast, but the mental worlds you can't even define them. And so when you come to this so confined chemical world, it's hard to breathe.
It's a straight jacket.
Yeah, I know it. That's why I just kind of pull back sometimes. And go, oh.
Sometimes you see all the beauty, and sometimes you see all
Exactly.
the filth.
But beauty in some of these other worlds. I mean, when you go to worlds where the trees are jewels and they shimmer jeweled colors. You know, I was telling you guys one time that I was reading Paul Twitchell, and he said, men generally don't dream in color. And I'm going, what? Oh, wait a minute. I don't dream in color. Well, that night, they took me on a journey, and from here on, I always see color. They fixed that real quick.
Oh.
And I mean, I was in a land where the flowers.
Is that true? Do men not dream in color?
It's true.
Do you dream in color?
I've never thought about that until
exactly,
just now. It's
exactly.
just like,
men tend to not dream in colors.
I know.
Women think of colors, and I'll go to Home Depot and I forgot to brush my hair this morning. We're men. We just go. And it's like a woman. She's got to look good. The colors have got to match and everything. And it's like I'm learning that.
Well, Ian, you and I were in San Diego a couple weeks ago, and you were telling me about your 10-day experience.
yeah.
And the one thing that stood out to me was you couldn't talk, you couldn't interact, and you were sharing just a little bit about how you came up with names for people and stories. And can you share just a little bit about that?
That was something new for me, is just what the human brain will create when in silence. And it took about 2 days, 3 days to kind of get into the fact of being silent and not talking, or using body language to communicate, and really just going on an inward journey. And I noticed after about 3 days of being there that as I was walking around, there was about 40 or 50 other men there, and women also on the other side. And I just noticed as I was there around all these other men, I was like, I'd see them walking by, and we would no eye contact was made. It was just kind of a selfless place, no ego. It was just kind of look at the ground. But I found my brain starting to go, oh man, I wonder if he's a nice person, or he looks maybe like his name is John or Scott, and maybe he looks like a rock climber. And I knew none of this. My brain was creating these stories. It's just thought, and so I got visibility into that of
Friggin' mind.
we don't know these. I didn't see these things happening in my day-to-day life until I surrendered and went into that. And then by going into that experience, I started to see just how active my mind is in creating stories that aren't even true.
Or lies.
Or lies,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And so I got some visibility, and I was like, whoa, I've been doing this my whole life.
She's probably mad at me because she didn't look at me, or the hug was kind of like this instead of
or
this.
giving a talk in 2015 at the class, going, they're all going to laugh at me, and just creating stories.
Yeah.
These are not true. And
that's
and
why
so,
you got to keep pulling back and watch your mind, and watch your mind pulling back to where you finally break that loose, and now you're in consciousness, you're in awareness, watching your mind. You want your mind to go do something, you tell it, but you don't follow it.
Don't
you
get
learn how.
attached to things.
Don't get attached. That's your mind. In other words, start listening within. And your mind will bring and whisper to you what you seek. But if you follow your mind, now you're gone.
That makes sense now. See, when I first heard that, a couple of years ago, it didn't fully resonate. It penetrated through, but I didn't get it quite like I do now. After that,
because you were busy. Your mind was controlling your awareness, and you were in a place where that time was for you to pull back beyond the mind. And the mind kept chattering, because that's what it's trained to do. Our school system, look what our school system teaches. Academics, academics, academics. And so now you've got these narcissistic elitists all over the place, because they think they're smarter than everybody else and whatever. And it's like, no, that's not awareness. That's the mind.
What did we say the other day? Or it's been a while, but we exchanged wisdom for knowledge.
Yeah.
We can read every single one of these books, but unless it's actual truth and we're embracing it.
Exactly. Other people's opinions.
Yeah.
Get used to looking at life, like you were saying, from your own viewpoint, from yourself, and see what is. Experiment, like you were saying. Eat a piece of meat, eat a piece of fruit.
Yeah.
Live on a meat diet for 1 week. Everybody's done that already, so try a fruit diet for 1 week.
Yeah.
I was saying this with vegetables. If you want to see the difference between vegetables and fruit, go on a salad diet. just for a week, then go on a green juice diet for a week, then go on a carrot juice diet for a week, and then go on a grape diet for a week, and then go on a lemon juice diet for a week.
Oh,
And you
yeah.
tell me.
That's good. That's a good program.
You tell
right
me
there.
which one's the strongest.
That would be a good way to like
Yeah.
get people into it.
It is.
Take this on for your own experience, and like then you can have your own opinion of it after
Exactly.
you can feel that, and now you can connect the dots.
But then we'll have 32,000 books come out because they have.
Well, see, back in the day, we used to pass on carrot juice. Jensen woke up to prostate cancer and went on a 3-month carrot juice fast, and I've got his filmed it and everything else. Didn't go anywhere. Carrot juice doesn't do anything. I mean, and it's a starchy veggie, so it's like you're fasting on that, and you want it to clean you. No, and I just never could get with the vegetable fasting that they're doing. It's like, no.
That would be more in the building
The
program.
fruit, exactly. If
Yeah.
you want to build with that. But fruit will build you, I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
You might not get gigantics, but
You'll be ripped and you'll have a nice physique.
The fruit, you just, Jesus, that's another level.
That's what I did
But-
in the beginning was high fruit. I was, when I lost 75 pounds, I was doing, 80% fruit.
Yeah,
And
hell
it's small
yeah.
like a salad at night.
Man.
And I would do the fruit all
Yeah.
during the day and the watermelons.
Isn't it amazing
Really
what
strong.
it brings you?
Yeah.
Brings you.
I think
Clean
I
you
lost
open.
25 pounds right off the bat once I really cut out dairy and grains and
It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, let me
all
tell
meat,
you,
I guess.
when I came out of the woods and I joined the second car and stuff, there was nobody that had conscious out-of-body experiences, because people generally belong to things because they innerly feel something, truth and that sort of thing. So a lot of people belong to teachings because it resonates within. But when you're having actual conscious out-of-body experience, not a lot of people do that for some reason. So they said, you teach. So I'm going, oh. So that I couldn't handle the energy. So I had to get off of my fruit diet. I couldn't handle it. I would sit there and just cramp. My body would spasm.
You can't interact because it's like
Too much energy.
It's like trying to transfer a book of knowledge into a sentence, and it's just you're going too fast. And
The angstroms, in the
Exactly.
fruit is you're up. You're
Yeah.
Well, it's also another thing to be conscious. It's another thing when you're bringing all that out through your bodies and communicating, because that energy is flowing through your bodies, and your body has to handle this. And that's another important thing about these levels. Excuse me. But when you get up to some of these levels, there's so much energy that to maintain your physical presence, sometimes you need to come down a little bit. At least I did, because I just couldn't. Excuse me. I could not handle it.
you're full access to full infinite possibility of anything that you
kidding.
can imagine.
And I'm only 20 years old. You know, and I'm going, whoa.
And then you have to try to interact with people that are on a lower vibration. You just
man.
can't do it.
I had a hard time acting with humans. You know, when the Dalai Lama was asked what he found unusual about the planet, he said humans. And that's true. I would be in the woods and lived in the woods. I could communicate with the animals, the tree, the plants from my buddies and stuff, but to go interact with humans, they were so opinionated. Stuff like, oh, I don't know, species, interesting species, the humans. Very interesting
It's
species.
so funny that you mentioned that, because when you exist in that frequency, you don't speak, like I was joking the other day, I don't speak bird, but I know exactly what they're saying to each other, and
Exactly.
I can look at that tree and I know the history of it.
Exactly. So I knew that. Totally. Matter of fact, some of my experiences, they took me back into plant life, back into some of the I won't say lower, but I'll say different forms. And, some people always like to say, well, I like to go back in time. Not really. Because when you get back into some of these I don't want to say lower forms of life, but you know what I'm saying? Again, that claustrophobia is unreal. Man doesn't realize where he's at in the consciousness of the planet,
We're so free, but yet we're
Yeah, I
holding
know!
ourselves back.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
We don't know how limiting we're living.
And how great you are.
Yeah, and the potential that
Exactly. And that's hopefully our videos and all of us working together and instilling this in people is open them up right and left. And we get these letters from people that we've changed them. We have a large following in Hinduism. So we got a large following in the spiritual fields. And that's exciting to me, because after all, that's what the bottom line is. You can get this as healthy as you want, and you can play with it, and that's fun to do. But what's your survival beyond this world? You ever think about that? Are you just going to pass and go? Or how would you like to know what your next journey is.
That's a great
How would you like
question.
to know that there is no curtain? Open and remove the curtains of the bodies, and you'll be fully aware of all of them. So that's what it's all about, is becoming awake again. To me, because you already are that which is. So it's just a matter of awakening, not a matter of learning. It's a matter of just, oh, I've been playing.
You can have a lot of fun now.
You can. Well, when you're going to places that are non-physical, the energy is much different, of course, but the interactions are different. For example, and I was telling Margie this, where we would read a spiritual book, there you would go into these temples and you would enter the light for the reading. Big difference.
I think that's one of the interesting misconnotations about a lot of these sacred sites, is that
Yeah.
people now believe that you go there to worship something, but in reality there was some sort of a physical significance to it in the way it was built, or it was built on some sort of porous rock with water flowing through it, or so on and so forth.
Ley lines or something.
Exactly, and basically you would go there and you would focus on yourself, and it was to improve yourself, not
Exactly.
to go worship some
Exactly.
third-party thing that doesn't
Exactly.
actually exist.
But if you go back to the teachings of Jesus and Buddha and all that, they were saying the same thing. Everybody's saying the same thing, It's just that people made different religions out of it and that sort of thing, but you can make whatever you want out of it. But does your spiritual teaching or religion give you the awareness, the sukha, the physical knowing and experiencing of it? Because you could know God in your heart and things like that, and you could know Creator, but do you really? Just really entering that consciousness there's no definition. It's like looking at something and, or you're moving and absorbing into it. And that just sends your way out there.
It's like reading about skydiving than actually doing it.
Totally good. Exactly. Oh yeah, I could do that. And then, oh shit!
I'm about to do this. You just gotta go.
Thought I was ready for this.
Crap, man, the power. But we're talking about the power, and I think the importance of this conversation in getting healthy is the body handling this power. It's like I said, I couldn't even handle it on a fruit diet. It increased the power. I had to come down and go, oh, ground. I had to, because it was just intense, pulsating energy, and I'm buzzing like nobody. Everything just loses its form. And it's just
Well, in Scripture it says to even look on the face of God, you wouldn't be able to handle it.
not at all. Not at all.
There's no definition.
No, you can only go so far in these worlds because you can't maintain a physical body and still be at some of these lofty heights. Let me tell you, I've tried, and they just kick you out. There's just all kinds
So
of
I'm
fun
saying
experiences.
you got to be grounded with 1 foot in, 1 foot out, kind of.
Yeah.
But even our shoes, we all have synthetic rubber, and we can't live in even a crowded environment because we're just
But again, if you change the way your perspective is, and instead of looking to the little self to the big, you go and you obviously are from the big self. So the only way you can get that change is to come thinking, and it'll pull you back. And now you're looking from into creation instead of the little self, like a leaf going, "What? I don't know anything. I'm full of fear. What? Who am I? Who's this God thing? What type of food should I?" All that sort of thing. And you shift your awareness because it's all a matter of your attention. That's the only thing you're here. It's only your attention. So just shift it. Change your perspective. That's how easy it is.
bird's eye view.
Bird's eye view. Just change the way you look.
Tough to see the forest or see the trees when you're in the forest, or see the forest on the
For the
trees,
trees.
whatever it is.
Exactly. Can't see the forest for the trees.
Tongue twister.
That's it.
How do you stay motivated, Marcy? How do you stay motivated on the path and to keep yourself going? What keeps you inspired?
The fact that I sought out healing from the time I was a little girl. Healing has just been something that I've asked for to be able to do. The gift of that, seeing the hurting people out there. I meet with them every day, and their cries for help.
Unreal.
Yeah.
I know. It's hard to keep it together sometimes.
I don't know how you
I
guys-
know.
It's
It's hard. I tell you. I get you. That's why sometimes I I break down on the camera. It's like stuff.
Yeah. I
A
feel
lot of suffering beings, let me tell you, and it's like ridiculous.
Well, and when you're more connected, you create or you embody more empathy
Yeah.
in everything, whether it be anything living.
Yeah.
So when these cases come across, I know that you feel how they feel, and it's just, it tears you apart.
I know it. It's sad stuff. It's like people don't realize they're even coming to us without appointments now because they hear about us. They're so scared they just show up hoping someone will see them. It's getting pretty bad like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, one lady came in from Germany the other day, one from Romania, just hoping to get an appointment. Just somebody to see them. So it's pretty gnarly out there. And you've got this medical consciousness that has just been so disruptive to the human health and the human psychic. It's just amazing. But we're here to reestablish this, to put the power out there, to establish the awareness here, and we're doing it. And I think we're doing a darn good job of it. I really do. I think our group is holding together pretty good. You got your ups and downs. You got all this. Okay, you got your patent places on everything, but. And looking at the whole, we do pretty good, I think.
And the next generation is starting to take up the torch.
Exactly. And writing books. People are writing books all over the place, and children's books all over the place. And it's like, yeah, we're making a major planetary change. But that'll have its ripple effect all through all the bodies. All the levels are being changed.
People are starting to wake up.
Absolutely. Well, you're either going to enjoy the next cycle. I don't think I want to be here for that. But you are, I've seen you as a good healer from the get-go. And you've helped so many people, heal so many people from some of the worst places to be. But that's the super of a God person. You've always been a God woman. And so it doesn't matter what name you call it. You've always been a God person. And those are the people that hearts go out and help others. Can I help you? That's as good as it gets spiritually. Because you're pretty fulfilled. Let me help you.
And you're so lucky that in your genealogy you had your grandmother passing on the knowledge of herbs.
Yeah.
And you grew up with that instilled into your
Right.
behavioral patterns and seeing the connection of it and how it works at such a young age. So you live it.
I will say Robert was the first one that helped me set some boundaries, though. Because I remember the first case where they passed away. And just the devastation in your heart. And I remember him saying you need to be compassionately detached. And
Detached compassion.
yeah.
Difficult because your heart pours out to.
Yeah.
Because whether you see him as a future brother or sister, or you see him as God itself, however you wish to see that, and that's who you're helping. You're extending your hand out to yourself.
But understand, this you taught me this too. Everybody's on their own journey.
Yep.
And to respect them where they're at in their beliefs and their thoughts, even if it's not ready for that next step,
Right.
you still have to respect that
Yep.
where they are. It's their choice. It's their decision.
It's like we were talking in the lunchroom, lessons are repeated until they're learned. So everyone has their time to learn those
hold
lessons.
space for them.
Yeah, I remember it's not just the physical is the least part of us. It's the least and the most mundane part of us. Look at our emotional body. It's huge. It's all over the freaking place. But we have to learn how to deal with emotions. Look at the
few of us
mind.
do.
Yeah, I know. And look at the mind. People can't stop thinking. Once you get that mind moving, it's like you were saying, your mind just chatters on at you. Shut the freak up, man.
Yeah.
And,
You get
and
nervous
it's just
and
like,
anxious and
I know.
these things that come into play. And we have things like vipassanas that you can go and tap into, but even that, people get up and leave.
Yeah.
They can't do it. They can't sit with their own thoughts that come through
Exactly.
and all of the things that come up. And if you're not somewhat prepared for it, it can take you on a ride. And when you don't have alcohol or drugs or sex or something to go and reach to, and you're just sitting with yourself, then you have to deal with that and go through it. However, when you get done with that, the outcome is like being reborn again.
Right.
It's liberating.
It is very.
Totally liberating.
So we have definitely some tools out there in addition to the teachings here. And
Oh, there's all kinds of stuff. But people just put things together. You were saying that, and I like that too. Is things are like a jigsaw puzzle. You know, in the wintertime up north, we put jigsaw puzzles together. You know, cabin fever shit. So, but
you've got a big piece of the puzzle figured out of how
thanks.
to.
I've tried.
Yeah.
And I've tried backed it all the way to the wall where you can't back it up anymore. And I still try to get it more simple yet, but here's where simple as you can get. I mean, you know, you can back it all up to chemistry and physics. You get it back as far as you can go and say, now take a look at this. And then when you put it all together, the picture is there, and it's like, oh, beautiful thing. And so,
I love what you say and teach about, you know, once your detoxification is a very specific thing, and what you do after that, it's up to you. But while you're doing this, focus on this.
and get it done.
Get
Go
it done,
after it.
and then you can have a little bit more freedom. in
Push
good
it,
times.
push it,
So-
push it, push it, push
So
it.
there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's more
Exactly.
freedom, but you got to go through this.
If you get your tumors gone and everything, keep pushing. Keep pushing, pushing, pushing until you just can't push anymore and go, you know what, I need to take a break. Good. Now you're way past it. You can sit there and eat whatever you want and your tumor won't come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you just keep pushing, pushing, pushing. You might find something interesting if you keep going
You
too.
might.
You might recondition your thoughts.
Uh-huh.
Because everyone has to take charge of that. It's your mind, and your thoughts have been conditioned by everybody else. So in about time you grab a hold of your mind and tell it what you're going to do. Absolutely.
Take
You have to be
responsibility
conscious.
for yourself
Exactly.
for the first thing.
You have to be conscious to do it though. Because if the mind is so subtle that sometimes you're thinking you're spiritual, but it's your mind thinking you're spiritual. You know, the mind is so subtle.
Takes you around.
It just loves to, you know, it's just that, you know, it's like, ah. And so you're always the watcher on the threshold, so to speak. You know, you're always that watcher on the edge of eternity, or the edge of the mind and thought. Ugh.
Well,
Peeling the onion back.
if you're at a spot where you're starting to question some things, that's actually a good place to be.
Total.
Because a lot of times that just means we need to change our way of thinking here.
You should question everything until you get a new foundation from scratch, because the reality is most of what you're taught and what you learn is totally wrong.
Isn't that
On
funny?
so
Isn't
many
that
levels.
funny? On so many levels. But it keeps creation moving along. It's like, oh.
It's in a pretty messed up direction.
Yeah, it's
lately,
funny, it
though.
is. It seems like it. You know, even though there's order in chaos, it looks pretty chaotic, but it's just the negative force. It's just that, see, and I always liken this because when you look at creation, it really starts at the end. That's where you move into, even though you can't sense it or feel it in that level, duality. You can't feel duality in cosmic consciousness. That's pure mind, pure thought. There's no, the experience there is everybody is one. Everybody is a Christ consciousness, but it's and it's you see everything as one. Everything is one, but you're still individual. When you move, if you can get past that pure mind that Holmes wrote so much about, you get
Break that
past
barrier.
that, you break that, you're now into consciousness. But outside of that, you're still into thought, but in its purest form. There's still a separation between you and it. The highest there is, but there's still that little separation because I'm one with everything. I'm one with everything. Consciousness is there's no recognition of separation. It's all just one. There's no thought involved.
And realizing that is what people refer to as illumination or liberation. You can read every
Self-forgotten
book
consciousness.
about it, but until you experience it, there's
Exactly.
no preparation.
There's no preparation. It's tough. Tough. I know we're going into the spiritual side here, but
But it connects with physically how you interact here, because just bringing it back to all of the details that you've dug into and really digging into nature and how this herb and this fruit and this plant does this in
fun stuff.
physical chemical reaction to the biological
Yeah.
entity which you are experiencing the interface. It all works in a
Fun
very
stuff.
design-oriented manner, and stay true to the design and in the balance and keep it simple, and it's going to be an amazing experience that you have here. Otherwise, you're just going to be miserable, and you're going to have disease, and you're going to have sadness.
Exactly.
And it's just, you know,
Yeah,
a
you're either
myriad of all
driving
the
your
problems
cars.
that we have.
Yeah. I said this before, you're either driving your own car or someone else's. And if you let someone else drive it, how can you ever be happy? And I suppose to this to the female principle, because the female principle is the alkaline principle, and it is the love principle. And so, in this day and age, the male principle has overrun the female principle in a lot of ways. And we are all connecting to the feminine principle within ourselves. I recognize that within each and every one of you, and you have the male principle. Notice that? Notice you're one of those derby riders. I mean, those.
Oh, by the way, I'm doing NASCAR driving in 2 weeks.
That's right. 2 weeks she's doing NASCAR. She wrestles alligators, sharks, and snakes and things like that. So what I'm saying, we have more feminine in us. She has more, but that balance is what you need, because we're not female or male. I mean, we might have a male body or female body, but consciousness is not gendered. Are you kidding? That's the game. So it's like...
That's just the assignment that you have of the body that you came into. And unfortunately, there's so many people that are confused on that.
And they shouldn't be confused, because spiritually, you're going to merge with your both sides and become balanced to where you're not gendered. You're looking at life through awareness as opposed to gendered bodies and maybe a one-sided view, a male view or a female view or whatever. You're now viewing from a total perspective. There is none of the isolates like that. It makes a big difference. Or you're looking through the eyes of a male, or the eyes of a female, and it's like, okay.
The key is to find the balance.
Find the balance. The key is also to become totally detached from things. In other words, work in the now. Stop thinking. You can just stop thinking and become the observer. Thoughts are going to keep sneaking in on you. But if you can just keep working it, pretty soon you'll find yourself sitting in the now, and the mind will be talking to you outside of yourself instead of you wrapping yourself around the mind. That's what you're
Taking every thought captive, so
exactly.
that you don't let it run away with you.
Yeah, and then if you want to know something, the mind will go find it for you and bring it back to you, and you're awake enough to get the message, and then the answer
how that
will be
works,
there
right?
for you, isn't it?
Especially when you ask for things.
Isn't it? It's a lot like, I hate to say it, but it's a lot like LSD or mushrooms, where it silences the mind, and if you're a strong soul, you won't trip, then you will bring you into the immense now. And if you've ever had an experience of the immense now, all the answers of the universe come pouring into you. I mean, it is amazing. Everything just starts going, whoa, it's like talking about information highway. It's amazing stuff.
It's just learning how to tap into it.
Learning how to tap into it.
Wow.
Exactly. That's where all it is. That's where all life is. So you tap into that, you got all your answers, and it's not written in books. It's written by the divine.
And then when you get open enough, then it just starts to flow through you.
Oh, yeah.
It just,
Yep.
comes out.
Exactly. If you want to know something, you put your attention on it. And since you're operating from an expanded view, putting your attention on it gives you the view of it. Yeah, instead of going that way through the pathways of thought and memory. That's causal. That's the lower mind anyway.
It's good stuff. I'm learning some new things here.
Oh,
I know a little bit, but I'm learning a lot more.
Well,
it's always good to
yeah,
be present here.
I think that keeping spirituality simple, like food, is key. Because you got metaphysics. And metaphysics, I can write one paragraph that in a metaphysical book that took a whole chapter to write. I can condense that chapter down to one paragraph. That's how intellectual that is. And it's like, no, let's get right. People are ready. I mean, the book on Conversations with God, the Eckmasters brought out, Ram Dass brought out, also Be Here Now. So the consciousness of the present has been out for quite a few years. That means there's plenty ready for it, or it wouldn't be out.
Well, it existed in the ancient times, and that was part of life, and basically our birthright has been taken from us.
Yeah.
So,
We've lost our identity.
well, we've lost our ability to connect with something greater, to understand what the identity is, because once we really see the identity from a third perspective, then we can take responsibility
Well, we're
of it and make
reconnecting.
it whatever we
Oh,
want.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. I tell you what, you got to have fun in life and enjoy everything you do, or it get you. So you just, but being a wayshore or being a healer and a like a wayshore where you're departing truth, that is the ultimate, in my opinion, in helping civilizations.
Bring everybody else up.
Exactly. That you're affecting all of creation, like throwing a rock in the ocean, or you're affecting the whole ocean. You're affecting all of life and bringing it up instead of that. Bringing it out. It's needed, and it's so much fun to work with you guys doing it too, because it's like I love to get. And we're going to have seminars where we have like 10,000 of us, doing the same thing. Have you ever heard 10,000 people hewing? It takes you right to freak out.
That many, but that sounds exciting.
Oh, let me tell you. In Hartford, Connecticut, the master was there one time, and of course you had, I think there was about 15,000 people there. And after the seminar was over, the roof fell in. The whole roof in this convention center just collapsed right down. Wow.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of amazing stories around these spiritual beings. You know, it's like
And you can't measure energy, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I got stories of fun stuff. You know. We got any more health stuff or what?
Interesting questions. Or I mean,
Well, it's a fresh breath for us to be in there, I think, right?
It's fun stuff. Exactly.
We're not one of the cases that's coming to you from the gallery.
We need to talk about spirituality and everything happy and fun stuff because exactly. There's so many suffering people, I tell you.
Well, and this guy is doing something really unique, which is how I came into basically being here today. Because I invited him out to basically teach me a little bit more about the techniques that he's been sharing with me.
Yeah.
And his story is very, very unique in that he is basically the only raw vegan bodybuilder that I've been able to come across. I mean, there are vegan bodybuilders, or I don't know if bodybuilder is the right term, but for someone that is maybe in our age group that really wants to take things to the next level physically, you've really figured out some good formulas and how to stay true to that. So
Thanks, man.
we're going to be working on that this week and sharing knowledge, what you know, what I know, and see what comes with it. But it's for anybody that's really looking
I'm excited about it too.
to build size and endurance. I mean, like I mentioned before, I lost about 25 pounds about a year ago, and I've been pretty much there, and I've been hitting the gym almost every day, and I'm so strong. I'm light years ahead of all these other guys that are in there, but my size isn't increasing yet, but it will. And
is there malabsorption going on? Did you look at that to see if there's malabsorption or anything?
Well, you can maybe give me some tips here.
Yeah. You can get a picture of your eyes and take a look at that, you know, and see if there is, because you got to fix malabsorption, like we were talking about with you.
That was the beginning
You guys
stages.
did the beginning stages. You got real skinny, you know, and once you were starting to get that lymph moving, and you're getting that malabsorption, you're getting that moving out of interstitially, you then start putting on weight and stuff. And that's the order of the day. I remember I had a case, and the mom brought this little 15-year-old daughter in, and I think she said, I'm bringing my daughter in because she's a fungus. She's got candida. And I looked at the daughter and I said, Mother, she's got a much bigger problem than candida. And her mother looked at me and gave me a real dirty look, and she says, what's that? See how skinny she is? And this girl just broke out crying and everything else. She says, I said, you eat all you want, don't you? She says, I do. She said, but I can't gain anything. And I said, Mom, you got a major problem here. Malabsorption in the lymph system. She's now a model in New York. That's
Fix
cool.
it up.
Yeah.
Malabsorption is a big issue
Big
because of all
issue.
of the genetic weaknesses, and then also
The lymph
the diet
system.
and the gluten foods and
Yep.
and just our diet in general and genetic weaknesses.
But you also have to clean yourself out before you can start building up. And
That's the order of the day. Because when you think about it, and I use this analogy that if you have a car wreck and you take your car to the body shop, they're going to start sanding the thing. They're going to start. It's not going to look too good. You go, that's my car. You know, body shops, and it's like. But that's what we go through in detox. We go through retracing. We go through cleaning. We go through all of this. So our cars look a little bumpy here and there, but coming out, baby, that thing's shining and it's purring, and that's what you're looking for.
The consciousness is
Exactly, and the driver of the car is now awake.
Well, a lot of people think that you have to be very, very thin to be malabsorbed, but there are people walking around with the big bellies, and you look at children in other countries that are malabsorbed, malnourished.
Oh, man.
They've got the big belly and the tiny, tiny legs, and there's a lot of people walking around in our world these days. We just see the big belly and we think beer gut, overeater, bread, pasta, pizza, whatever. But the sad thing is, you can have a woman that walks down the street that's my size, 120, 22 pounds, and everybody thinks she's healthy because she's thin. And then you've got a woman, but she's on the side over there eating Twinkies and Ho-Hos and stopping at McDonald's and all this. And then you have a girl that's overweight thyroid, adrenal issues, but she eats salads and stuff all day long, and everybody's judging the one for being sick and the other one is okay. They're not looking at the root causes. They're not looking at what they're eating and how they're trying to fix it. They're just looking at the picture that they've been given by society that is okay.
You know, when I first started this, people would comment on the YouTube channel like, how can people be so sick? Look at the nice bodies all these people have and stuff like that. And I was saying, all you have to do is de-skin them.
Mm-hmm.
You can have the most beautiful lady standing there, beautiful and everything, de-skin her. See what she looks like inside. So sometimes the inside picture isn't quite like the outside, isn't it?
Yeah, and you got to
Sure.
and now we have, you know, you can look at the eyes, you can look at skin, you can look at
Oh my
so many
God.
different-
Oh yeah.
so many different
Oh, yeah.
hands, like their fingernails. There's so many different ways
Yeah.
you can look.
Isn't that cool?
And see into what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, you guys have learned so much and are doing so well. I'm just totally overwhelmed at how beautiful that is, because you look at out there, no one teaches anybody anything. So what you have is a very cold world of nothingness, and you have the natural health people, like we said earlier, with stool implants and nitric oxide and crap like that. So you have this
Even if that worked, the world would be like, seriously? Well, at least the average person.
Yeah. Oh.
So counterintuitive that it is.
Really. But it's just beautiful to see the progress and the people involved here and the help that they're giving their kids and everybody out there. I just think we've got an exciting group. I can't wait to see us get seminars where we can expand more. We get into more music, creative art, the paintings and drawing. There's so many artists in our group now. It's like, oh my God. I mean, incredible artists. So we have art rooms, and you walk in and you just get a buzz.
We all
Whoa.
have that creativity inside us. We just have to unlock it. And
Exactly.
find out how to
Exactly. Oh yeah, everybody's got all that. You have access to the infinite because you come from the infinite. So where's your limitation? You.
My son is a writer, and he called me the other day, and he's like, I've got writer's block. And I'm like, no, you're just taking a time out. Everything that you're supposed to write is already here. You just need to, through experiences and stuff, allow it to be brought out and put on paper.
Well, you're from Indiana, and Indiana, where I'm from in Indiana, is a little town called Brown County, or Nashville, like Nashville, Tennessee, but it's Nashville, Indiana. And it was an art community. And it started out because it's down in the hills where you have the covered bridges, and so you have famous artists that moved in there and became an art community. And you even read it in art appreciation classes and stuff. It talks about our town. But it's still art. So there's this famous artist one day. I was out visiting my grandfather, which was a car dealer, and he was talking. Everybody's friends in the little town, you know. And so he was telling me, he said, same thing. I'm blocked. I'm not happy. I don't have any creativity. I said, because your painting's still art. I said, start getting into, and this was a preacher kind of guy, and I said, get into meditation. Start looking within yourself at some of the beauty that lies within and bring that out to the canvas.
Simple as that.
Simple as that.
Just do it.
You see that painting right there? That painting was painted by a famous Greek artist, and that's the 14th canvas. Her husband finally ripped it from her and said, you have to stop. Totally intuitive. So you see Dr. Jensen. I didn't tell her about Dr. Jensen. And everything means something there. Everything means, the vase means something, the orange grove, 6 months. She picked all that up and painted that painting out of that.
Wow.
And finally she kept, no, that's not. No, that's not. Finally, she ended up with that. But that's the
That's
sort
a
of
beautiful picture,
creativity
too.
that's out there. Painting the intuitiveness, like Rebbe Zartaris and Twitchell. That's the sort of ethericness when you're in these worlds that are massive, and you have these temples, and you have these cities of jewels, and and then you come back here. And you got concrete city, blacktop city. People don't plant a lot of flowers.
Surrounded by zombies.
Exactly. And people like The Walking Dead. It's a popular thing on TV. It's like,
It
okay.
already exists.
That's amazing. Oh my God, people worship the underworld so much, and it's like, oh, come on, bring the light, guys. Yeah, it's one of those things.
Well, Ian, you, what is your title? Personal trainer?
No, I'm more of a holistic approach, a holistic health coach, a mentor, and really working with. I've worked with some athletes. I've worked with some teenagers now.
I bet that's interesting.
That was a lot of fun. 17-year-old, 16, 17-year-old young men, and they're looking to, they have all the stereotype stuff, or not stereotype, but all the, the other kids are taking supplements and taking protein powders, and here I'm talking to them about, fruits and vegetables and alfalfa and, certain builders that you wouldn't find on the other. So I've had the opportunity to be able to speak to some of the youth, and I find a lot of. I've been there.
Walked those roads. And
I was the teenager, at 16 years old, looking for that, looking for the answers, and I would read all the labels, and I would, even at that age, I was just desperate for information. I wanted to read everything. I wanted to understand what I was, how to build muscle. What does all this mean? But I wasn't doing it from the standpoint that I know now. I was doing it with the whey proteins, and much like most of the kids do. So it's been an honor to work with some teenagers and some kids, some youth, and so I look at more of like myself as more of a mentor, a holistic health coach, and my goals in 2018 is to offer more focus on retreat building workshops and teaching, and to still offer a few different programs and things for people that can help them advance and navigate through all the information that's out there and keep it simple, but focus around where like immersions, retreats, where people can come and have a deep dive.
That's fun stuff.
And really walk away with some deeper understandings of things.
So you probably, what was it, Joe Wielder? What was his name?
Weeder. Joe Weeder.
I did his programs back in the 70s. It's trying to build up. The 60s, basically, trying to build up, but I didn't know anything then.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Farm boy. I'm just going, but this protein powder.
Yeah, that's what we think. That's what we don't.
I know.
What we don't know.
Does he know Antoine and that group?
I think you've met Antoine Sims, he's a bodybuilder.
Maybe online, maybe somewhere on the Facebook.
Got his magazine over there. He's another one that trains body. He is a massive.
Is he in LA?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we connected on
massive
Facebook.
bodybuilder.
Yeah.
And he trains other bodybuilders. And so he's...
Hi, Antoine, if you're watching.
Yeah.
Hey, Antoine.
Yeah. And he is taking it seriously because they know, it's so many cases of RA from bodybuilders and stuff. And I have one guy that came in years ago, and he has almost 20-inch arms. He was on a lot of the magazines, and his joints are gone, just high proteins.
Yeah.
So then it broke down all his joints and everything. Most of them get rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah, the acids.
There's no fun there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see them where their muscles break down.
Yeah.
Prolapse. And then, of course, the weightlifters, if you're not careful, you know what you can do there, don't you? You can blow a rectum. Oh. And I used to have, I don't know if someone lifted it, but I used to have a picture of a blown rectum from a from a weightlifter. And
scary stuff.
That's scary stuff. No fun. And people don't realize that if you're, let's say your parathyroid is down and you're low in calcium and you're a weightlifter, your connective tissue is weak.
Yeah.
So you can blow a rectum real easy that way. It's like nobody teaches you these things.
Slip a disc, herniated disc, or
exactly.
Some kind of major.
There was a medical doctor that told one of our cancer people one time that he couldn't give her chemo because she had a parathyroid weakness and she was bruising too much. It's the smartest oncologist I've ever heard. Because if he'd have given her chemo, he'd have killed her. Because she would have blown an artery, she would have had an aneurysm easy. Wow. She was already right there. So, at least there was one smart guy that, considering, that blocked that. But as a rule, hook her up. It's just, there's a lot of awareness, and I hope that our group brings a lot of awareness, because I'm seeing some of you guys out there are getting so smart. It's like, it's going to be a problem for this society to deal with them, because you guys know truth, and the hardest nut to crack is truth. When you're faced with that, the rats run.
That's what's feared. If you maintain control, you fear momentum and collected energy between a group. and that's why there's many mechanisms to control group mentality. But when it's truth and it is starting to spread and gain momentum, then eventually it will just persist.
Yeah, eventually it will.
Thank you for being the leader in
Well,
this regard.
thank you. I mean, we're all working together, making this thing happen, and it's exciting as heck. When I see moms, like I said, the babies, and all the people you're getting in here, and I see Attila knocking them out like crazy, and it's like some of the cases are really bizarre, but we're winning them. There's a few that we don't. There's no question about it, and that's hard. But again, that's their journey, and they've taken it in this body as far as they can go. I mean, this body can only take so much, and then you got to trade it in, or don't come back to this level. That's the one I prefer. Trade it in and revisit.
Well, you were
Oh, I'm back again. Oh, where did I hide that money? So I can.
Yeah, you were speaking earlier about puzzles and stuff, and each one of us plays a different part of every of the picture, of the actual picture, the big picture, and where you're doing one thing, and Robert's doing another, and you're doing another, and I'm doing another. It's all about
Cool
playing
stuff.
a part.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love it. The big heart.
yeah.
Absolutely. Good stuff.
Get that beacon of truth and reality of what is actually happening moving forward.
Yeah.
Stop paying attention to all the nonsense that's out there.
That's the thing.
All the lies.
That's the thing, and it's all over. I mean, you've got your trolls, and you got people. One guy purchased how many thumbs down and put it on our site?
Right.
He purchased like
I hadn't heard that
4 or
yet.
500
things now?
I guess he did something, but 400 or 500 thumbs down on our site. It's like, give me a break, man! Come on. You
If
don't
you
like
got
what
that kind
said,
of
turn
money-
and go somewhere else. I don't care. You don't hurt my
I guess you can
feelings.
hack into it and adjust it.
Exactly. You can do.
It's so difficult to sense the authenticity of something that's online. And when we met in the other room before I came in here, I saw him for the first time, and I looked right in his eyes, and I said, "All right, the real deal." I've been listening for a year, but I can see your soul.
Yeah.
I
It is
can
the
read
real
you. I
deal,
know
man.
that is true.
Oh yeah, we're here to do it.
So if anybody's paying attention,
Yeah. We're here to do it. And get her done.
You're
And
done.
then get out.
that's right.
Get this
Move
mission.
on.
You're done.
Exactly. Get her done. Get out of here. Well, this has been a good video. Turned out more spiritual than which I like, because I think that's where everything's going. Really, health is going to be a part of that big move.
Yeah.
And it's just people need to get themselves freer and happier and more self-empowered.
It is essentially the most important thing, because then the health becomes kind of second, but it is so important as well, because it is your interface that you're interacting in. It limits you, or it gives you, unlimited potential.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I see.
The
too.
physical
Exactly
gets
what I
boring
see.
after a while. You can
Oh.
fix it up with some fruits and vegetables and some herbs.
But it
and
is just a body.
It's just a body.
That's why we like cars. We can only walk so fast. When you think about, bam, you're there, versus getting in a car and driving somewhere.
Learn how it works, learn
Yeah.
its limitations, and
Learn
know
how
that
to
it has a
move.
certain expiration date.
Exactly.
Just take care of it the best
The
you can.
spiritual side is what's emerging.
Because
Bring
anything
more of
you
that
want to
in.
know, you're right there to put your attention on. You have the whole experience right there. You don't have to go out. Just put your attention on, boom, you'll have it right there, the whole living thing. It's wild. I mean,
We're just getting started here.
oh my
We have
God.
another hour.
Oh my
I
God.
know people listening are like, what are these guys
I
talking
know,
about?
we're rattling on, yeah, but, well,
It
it's
is-
fun stuff
It is really fun
to
when you
start.
actually get there and dig into
Exactly.
it.
And start expanding yourself and feeling. Anybody ever feel a real heightened sense of feeling good someday? You don't know why, but you just feel, you just smile on your face, you get up, the body isn't hurting, everything is good, you're excited.
You
Something
appreciate
happened that night.
everything around you in your environment.
Exactly.
You can look into the details of everything, and just knowledge flows into you.
Yeah.
That's what it's
What could-
about. And
What could we say? What could we leave to say? Like, here's a few takeaways from our dialogue or conversation today. If we could collectively,
I would say the
Same.
first thing is hang in there. No matter how you're suffering during detox and your healing crisis and the up and down, hang in there. Know what you're doing. Know why you're doing it. Don't just do it. Just know what you're detoxing for.
you're
What are you doing?
7 years into this, and you're looking great, and you're still moving
Yeah, exactly. It never
Exactly.
stops.
Ah!
Keeps going. Stay
That's
in,
it.
hang in there.
That's
Even
it.
if you're not seeing it after the, I know a lot of people, they get started on the detox journey and a month, 2, 3,
Yeah.
8 months into it, you go, I'm not seeing any filtration. It's okay. You're not doing anything wrong.
Right.
Hang in there. Keep going.
That's how
And-
bad it is.
Yeah,
That's
sometimes
how
we
bad
have
it is.
20, 30 years of reversing around, just like myself, 30 years of Accutane and,
Oh, I can't
and,
believe you
and
did
prednisone,
Accutane.
and then alcohol
That's
and
nasty.
drugs and all those things back in one of my 20s. And it was just a lifetime of
Yeah.
reversing that merry-go-round wheel that's going really quick one way and like trying to stop it. It just doesn't work. You have to
Well, a
like, slow
train
it down.
doesn't stop immediately.
Right.
It's got
That's
that
a good way of looking
momentum,
at it.
and it has to slow down and then start again. Before, I don't know, we had like 80 trains that would go through our town in Goshen, Indiana. And in a day, any given day, 75, 80 trains. And a lot of times they would
Damn!
stop and then they'd start backing up and you'd be like,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
but it takes momentum and energy to stop it, but then start it again
Yeah.
and go the other way, reversing that thought.
Yeah.
I think
Just-
another thing we could tell them is, you remember when you're on an airplane and they tell you about the oxygen mask and they tell you put it on yourself and then your family? Work on yourself. Work on yourself. Give yourself due respect and realize you are the divine in form, and see that in everyone. And as you begin to see that in everyone and feel that in yourself, you'll become that. And that love will just come out of you like the rays out of the sun. And you don't have to try to give love. It comes out, it emanates out of your beingness.
And then other people feed off of it because
People feed off
the
of it.
energy transference
Exactly.
is like two lights that feeding each
Exactly.
other and back and forth, and it makes the whole area brighter.
Oh, no kidding. I mean, it brings everything up. And that's what's happening, and I'm excited about it, to tell you the honest truth.
The one thing that I would say is that you are worthy of healing. There are so many of you out there that feel like you don't deserve that and
That's sad.
fight against that. And you're worth it. You deserve that.
Big time.
Don't
Yeah.
let yourself be a victim, because that's
Yeah.
just a behavioral pattern that you pick up from
Yeah. Good.
your programming of your heritage or traumatic things that may have happened to you, which are unfortunate, but you need to confront those and move on. Or just these patterns become ingrained, and the more time that goes on, they become ruts and they're difficult to get out. So you have to really find how to break out of that and just realize that you, like you said, do deserve it, and you can take control and be responsible for yourself. The only person that's holding you back from that is yourself. So it's very
You know, I
difficult, but you can do it.
Yeah, you can. I did a video yesterday, and it was about self-empowerment, but also about husbands and loves.
We need to be able to hear.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm kind of thinking here myself. But I was doing this video to this girl because she's got a cancer. She's been with us a long time here, but you know how people fall in and off. So now she woke up to some lung, liver, and bone. So she got 3 spots, right? So she's done radiation already, knowing what it'll do. So then I did a video for her because she's called scared, and her husband wants her to do chemo. So, I mean, I just had to give them a truthful video. And these sort of things where the mate forces them into a treatment they don't want. That's what you have to gain your power. You're not going to lose your mate if you stand up and say, I'm going to do it my way. But if you don't and you let your mate, out of fear, take you down a road, and I've had them also where the mate didn't want them to live. I mean, I've had all levels of that. And quite frankly, if you don't want to do chemo, don't do it. It is a killer. So pull back. Don't let your family rule you. You
Or
better
your
live
doctor.
homeless.
Or your doctor.
Or your
I
doctor.
don't know how many people
Medical
were like,
doctors.
how am I ever going to tell my doctor that I don't want to do this?
Who cares?
You
Whose
hired-
world is it?
You hired him. He
Exactly.
didn't hire you.
Thank you.
Whose body is it?
Yeah.
Exactly. So
You're the only one that can take responsibility for it.
it is. And to go into, because I had there's a gentleman that was a educator over at Hippocrates. Well, he first heard about me and brought a friend that was at the Hippocrates for about 3 months, big tumor on the side of his neck. I heard, and it wasn't budging down there in Hippocrates because they don't know how to detox, right? So we put him on the detox, the true detox, right? 2 months gone. This educator's going, whoa. So he started bringing some people over, and he brought this lady over that had a pea-sized tumor in her breast. I said, I can pull that out right now if you want me to. I got some black sand. We'll put that on there and pop that little bitty thing right out of there. But it's so little, you might as well get your kidneys filtering and handle that, and it'll be gone in no time. So I didn't see her for a long time, and this gentleman came back over and brought some other people, and I was talking to her and said, oh no, she died. I said, she what? She had a pea. Oh no, her husband talked her into the chemo and radiating for a pea. And now she's dead. And it's like, I still kind of get this numbness when I think about that. Here's a beautiful woman with a family, had a little pea, and they killed her. You know, that's the sort of thing we have to stop, because that's the sort of thing that's majorly out of balance here, and we have to somehow interface with that and wake that up, because that's not good.
Break through and let people realize that there is an alternative, and the alternative is simple and is the truth.
Yeah, exactly. And the more that you guys are helping us and the more people are doing it, they're proving it. And that's what we need, is the evidence to prove. We got so many cases. I mean, for 40-some years, we got a lot of cases. So it's hard for them. And our big thing is, okay, your medical doctor is going to blow back on us. We'll come to your clinic and we'll take your patients under camera.
Are you up for the challenge?
Yeah. None of them have ever taken me on. Remember we talked about that the other day. Not one medical doctor has ever taken me up on that challenge. And I offer it to them all. And they never take me up on it, because they know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, especially under camera.
Yeah.
Not good.
It's because they've been programmed for so long in a certain framework of an institution that is, like you always say, treatment-based, that they can't fathom that the body of knowledge is so large and so long.
It would be one thing if that modality would leave everybody else alone and they just teach their modality. If you bought into it, you went to it, that's your choice. But they then blow back and tell everybody that we're charlatans, that we don't know what we're talking about and everything else. And that's where I draw the line. Don't blow back on us because you don't understand us. You know, if you just teach people what you do, we'll teach people what we do, and they'll make them give them a choice.
People fear what they don't understand, and then they attack.
It's that give them the choice that's the issue.
Well, none of us are wearing white coats either. We don't have that stethoscope. I saw a nurse walking around Home Depot one day with her stethoscope on, and I go, oh, really?
How many people came to you while you were in the paint aisle?
Yeah.
Can you look at this?
But you know, I worked in the hospital for about 5 years, in 3 different hospitals for about 5 years, trying to get all the information. I tell you, it took a while to get rid of your white coats and stuff. It's that ingrained in you. It's just really ingrained in you there. All kinds of things.
Just patterns.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, it's also identity. This makes me somebody.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like going to yoga and having the perfect outfit and the perfect mat and doing the,
Yeah.
No, it's about
Exactly.
getting your body connected with
And bending
something more.
and flexible and all of that, absolutely. But I got the right gear. That's a good
Look
point.
good.
Well, I
You're
thought
doing
this
it.
exactly. I thought this was fun.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun.
we
I
love it.
appreciate
We love you guys.
you guys coming and being here and doing
Absolutely.
this.
Yeah.
It's so good to see you
Yeah.
guys.
It's great to meet you, Fun.
Again, we meet you too. Keep doing those travels. Well, you remember we were talking about out of body travel earlier, and I remember that this was the biggest thing on my mind was out of body traveling. You know, and of course Eckankar started out with bilocation. It was the science of bilocation, the ability to be in 2 places simultaneously. Right? So that's how it started out to be. But then as time goes on, and I'm they're taking me to different places. This voice came to me one day and it said, who's the traveler? You like to travel, but who is the traveler? And it just shocked me. It's like, I've been focusing on the wrong thing. I've been focusing on journeys in creation. I want to know who I am, the traveler. And that's the change, because that's consciousness. And that moves you from movement and thought to pure beingness, the present moment.
Question everything.
Yeah. Question everything. Or you don't even have to question because you just see it. It's there. The answer's right there.
And then the clarity comes into it, and then
Absolutely.
the pieces of the puzzle start to connect, and you can see things for what they really are.
Love it.
It's
Love it.
amazing.
Love you guys. Thank you so much. Have fun on this journey of spirituality, health, vitality, vigor, fun stuff.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Yes.
And keep it simple.